Hey, what's going on, JJ Crew? Welcome back to our top 5 mod series for Cyberpunk 2077. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of mods that attempt to overhaul the gameplay and combat experience, as well as some plugins for Cyber Engine tweaks. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as we'll be cranking out more of these videos every single week. The first mod we'll be taking a look at is Realistic Combat Overhaul by Courtlong50. One of the great aspects of modding is you can make a game play the way that you want, assuming you or someone else has the know-how. From reading the description for this mod, you can definitely tell that the mod author isn't a fan of games with weapon loot and bullet sponge mechanics. So, they created this mod which evens the playing field by giving everyone a base health of 100 no matter the level, and rebalance the weapons to compensate for these changes. Combat with this mod makes things feel a lot more tactical. Enemies die in usually 1 to 3 hits unless they have extra armor, and the same now goes for you. That means you can be a bit more tactical, but it also means you can get through enemies a lot faster, so long as your positioning and cover is good. It actually reminds me a lot of the old Rainbow Six games in terms of combat. Unfortunately, even on very hard difficulty, the AI in Cyberpunk is a bit of a pushover, so it's actually very easy to mow over enemies without them even being able to lay a finger on you. This is especially true if you pick up a tech weapon that lets you shoot through just about anything. In the vanilla game, it wasn't until hitting later levels that I was able to one-shot most people. But now the entire game, from start to finish, plays basically like that. Of course, you're still much more susceptible to damage as well, but in my experience, it just hasn't really been much of an issue. It's definitely a fun way to play Cyberpunk though. It makes for a fresh experience. I just don't think it lends well to what's supposed to be a 100-hour RPG. It makes all the options the game provides you in terms of combat and equipment a bit redundant, as you can be just as effective with a basic level 4 assault rifle as you could with a fully kitted out cyber hacker, even in the late game. Now, if you like the looter shooter and RPG mechanics provided in Cyberpunk, but feel like the game gets far too easy late game, then I would suggest looking at Level Scaling and Balance by RMK1234. This mod actually does a ton to rebalance the game and comes in different modules so you can change the game the way that you want. It does require Red Script to run, so you'll have to have that installed and running first. The instructions for Red Script aren't super clear for installation, but you just need to extract it to the main directory where the game is installed, and then run the game once. Then make sure to read the install instructions for the level scaling mod as well to avoid any issues. Now there are 6 different changes that are implemented in this mod. The first module adjusts level scaling by bringing everyone up to your level instead of a max scaling of 45 once you hit level 50. I'm also using the option that raises the enemy's minimum level across the different regions of the map. And the second module increases the enemy's overall health, starting from a 2.5 modifier all the way up to 3.5 times the normal health late game. The health changes are only implemented on the very hard difficulty, but considering how easy the game gets towards the end, this definitely feels like a necessary change. Of course, this is in stark contrast to the Realistic Combat Overhaul where everyone's health is nerfed to a base of 100. So I'd honestly try both methods and see which one you prefer. You might even just like the game vanilla. I'm also curious to see how the level scaling works with this, as having enemies scale to your level should also increase their health as well. The third module adjusts the scaling of status effect damage and makes it so that statuses do a percentage of overall health damage so that it's properly balanced with the level scaling and health changes. Damage can also be adjusted to your preference, and the mod author gives the recommended values depending on the new health multiplier that you went with in the second module. The fourth module rebalances XP and leveling for your base level, street cred, and skills. The XP gained from combat in Cyberpunk is determined by the amount of health an NPC has, so the changes here are mostly to keep leveling in line with vanilla, but also to bring street cred leveling to a similar pace as the player level. It also makes leveling your skills easier by lowering the XP requirements, and raising the amount earned through gameplay. The nice thing is it doesn't change the XP value, so if you decide to uninstall the mod, it won't actually affect your save. it'll just go back to using the normal leveling curve scaling. The 5th module shortens the time available for executing Breach Protocol and makes it start immediately. In vanilla, you were able to plan out your hack and the timer didn't start until you chose your first input. But now the timer starts immediately, making you have to think more on your feet. The 6th and final module is a simple change that lets armor value reduce the damage you take from melee attacks. It's kind of odd that this wasn't just a consideration in the base game, but at least we can fix it with the mod. So as you can see, we have 2 very different methods of adjusting gameplay and challenge in Cyberpunk. The nice thing is that a lot of the modules from level scaling are actually compatible with realistic combat overhaul. Personally though, I feel realistic combat actually makes the game too easy, and I like retaining the sense of progression and need to upgrade my equipment with the level scaling and balance mod. I still suggest trying both and just seeing which one you prefer. Just make sure to back up your saves beforehand. Now, have you tried the stealth perk that lets you throw any knives you have equipped? It's a fun gameplay mechanic, but the downside is that once you've thrown your weapon, it's gone. Enhanced Throwing Knives by Insotic fixes this little issue by giving you 2 separate options. The first is unlimited throwing, that just gives you another knife to throw instantly, while the second option allows you to recover your thrown knife. Honestly, I might recommend the unlimited option, since after throwing your knife, you're limited to only 2 weapons and have to go back into your inventory to equip it. Either way, it's an improvement, as it actually makes the throwing knife perk worth grabbing. If you remember back in my New Game Plus video, I installed a mod called Cyber Engine Tweaks. Now I'm going to tell you about 2 plugins that use this mod for the user interface. The first is the Edgerunner's Bazaar, which is a mod menu that lets you upgrade your equipment on the fly and can even give you entire item sets. There are 2 versions. One is just a base edition, and the other is a merchant version, which charges you eddies for upgrades, materials, and unlocking equipment. The base prices are fairly cheap for what they give you, but they are adjustable. The second mod is called Simple Menu. This plugin is basically a trainer. Like Edgerunner's Bazaar, you can upgrade or add items for your character, but it also lets you have basically infinite ammo, stamina, change your level, or any type of character stat from your carry weight to your armor. I use it with the Respec mod to port my character stats from my level 50 character onto my new female V, and then lowered my player level and street cred down to level 3 to essentially give myself a New Game Plus experience. I also use it to spawn items and vehicles to test different mods. You can also use it to sell junk and consumables on the fly, which is pretty convenient. So yeah, definitely can be used to cheat, but it also opens up a lot of interesting options for character building as well. Both of these mods work well and haven't given me any issues. So if you're using any vehicle or clothing replacement mods, I would definitely grab these so you can make sure your mods are working properly. There are also a lot of hotkeys you can assign for simple menu functions if you want to use them. Right now, a majority of Cyberpunk mods seem to be clothing to NPC edits, which I'm not super interested in. If you have worked on or know of any cool gameplay or weapon mods, let me know in the comments. I'd love to check them out and feature them in a video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and support the channel by subscribing if you haven't already. Also, feel free to come hang out with me at twitch.tv/JourneyJohn, where I'm live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central. We're playing a heavily modded Divinity 2 campaign right now with some friends that also has leveling and rebalance changes while also adding random buffs and modifiers to enemies. It's quite challenging, but also very fun. Anyways, I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you all later.